Afghanistan is building a canal, the Kushtapa Canal. This is an important water conservancy project that connects southern and northern Afghanistan. The total length is 285 kilometers. The original intention of the canal design was to divert water from the Amu Darya River, convert 550,000 hectares of desert areas into farmland. The canal was launched in early 2022. The first phase was completed in October 2023. The second phase of the project was launched in late February 2024, expected to be completed in 2028. If fully operational, the canal will extend 285 kilometers, approximately 100 meters wide. It's 8.5 meters deep. At that time, it will transfer approximately 20% of the water from the Amu Darya River, create a large number of employment opportunities for Afghanistan. However, some experts and engineers have expressed doubts about Afghanistan's construction capabilities, believing that they do not have the professional knowledge to effectively complete the canal project. The reason is that in December 2023, a breach has occurred in a section of the Kushtapa Canal, which is about 30 meters long, causing a large amount of water loss. The walls of the canal cannot withstand the pressure of water flow. A large amount of water overflowed from the canal, spread to nearby areas. The engineer attributed the leakage to a design flaw in the canal. In addition, another challenge faced by this project is the issue of river ownership. The Amu Darya River is the largest river in Central Asia. During the Soviet era, the waters of the Amu Darya River are divided into Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Turkmenistan and Uzbekistan. Afghanistan, on the other hand, has not joined any international treaties related to the utilization of cross-border river bodies. This poses a certain level of uncertainty for Afghanistan in utilizing the waters of the Amu Darya River. Uzbekistan is located in the lower reaches of the Amu Darya River, may be the most affected, expressing concerns about the potential adverse effects of the canal on its agriculture. Despite Uzbekistan's Ministry of Water Resources expressing support for Afghanistan's progress in the field of canals, and expressed willingness to cooperate on the project, but the two sides did not reach a formal agreement. In addition, concerns about the quality of canal construction are also intensifying. The Central Asian Analysis and Reporting Bureau has raised doubts about the construction quality of the canal project. The construction method of the canal is called rudimentary. The bottom and banks of the canal were not properly reinforced or lined. Once encountering extremely heavy rainstorm and continuous precipitation, the soft soil in desert areas cannot withstand the impact of water flow. Therefore, the canal constructed using this method poses a safety hazard. Uzbekistan is involved in dam construction, equipment, canal construction. I have certain experience in agricultural irrigation and other production fields. If Afghanistan can draw on the experience of friendly countries in the canal project, the canal project may have better quality assurance. China provides 2 billion yuan in funding for the construction of 10,000 apartments in Afghanistan. This is the largest housing aid project that Afghanistan has received so far. The project will be carried out in batches. Project Phase I, Phase EI. Phase 3 will construct apartment buildings in Kabul city. The remaining parts will be constructed in other provinces, provide more housing for Afghan people. The total number of apartments in the first phase is 1,400. On April 7, 2024, the construction of the Nirabag residential project, aided by China, has officially started in Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan. The project is worth 5.1 billion RMB. It is the first batch of 10,000 housing projects, supervised by the Afghan Ministry of Urban Development and Land, constructed by China 19th Metallurgical Group. Domestic construction industry experts personally went to Afghanistan for quality control and construction technology consulting. The goal is to build 1,400 apartments in 56 blocks of the Afghan capital. The house will be completed within 3 years, according to estimates. These apartments can accommodate at least 5,000 residents. To address the issue of unemployment in Afghanistan, during the construction period, Chinese companies will recruit a large number of local workers in Afghanistan, providing over 700 direct employment opportunities, providing indirect employment opportunities for over 4,000 people, in addition to the Nirabag residential project being constructed with assistance. China has also assisted in many projects in Afghanistan. Many of them were built by the 19th Metallurgical Group. The 19th Metallurgical Group entered Afghanistan in 2009. He is one of the pioneers in implementing China's aid construction project in Afghanistan. So far, Chinese companies have built many buildings in Kabul, including the auditorium, schools and hotels, etc. In the past, construction projects funded by foreign donors sometimes encounter difficulties due to exceeding budgets or inability to meet local conditions and requirements. But Afghanistan believes that projects aided by Chinese companies will be successful. Because Chinese companies are flexible in construction, we will customize according to their requirements. The design was designed according to Afghan requirements. Construction supervision is also a local enterprise in Afghanistan. The subcontractor is also an Afghan company, from planning and design to construction completion. Local Afghan people can participate throughout the entire process. After decades of war, Afghanistan is facing a serious housing shortage problem, especially in urban areas such as Kabul. Currently, they have started taking effective measures, carry out housing construction and infrastructure projects in China, and plan to launch other large-scale projects soon. Afghanistan hopes to take this opportunity to call on local enterprises to jointly carry out regional connectivity projects with China, including the construction industry, agriculture, trade, and electricity. There used to be a classic saying online, "It's been a long time since CCTV reported on Iraq." It indicates that Iraq's development is getting better and better. There is actually no necessary connection between these two things. The real reason is that the Iraq war has ended. There is not much news value left. However, this statement can indicate that many people have a great interest in the news protagonists reported by CCTV for a long time. So much so that I felt a bit uncomfortable after reducing my coverage. So you should have noticed that CCTV hasn't reported on Afghanistan for a long time, right? Since the US military withdrew from Afghanistan 2.5 years ago, CCTV's coverage of Afghanistan has indeed significantly decreased. The latest widely known report about Afghanistan should still be about drug control in Afghanistan, right? Then there's nothing else. What exactly has Afghanistan become now? I'm afraid few people know. I certainly don't know what Afghanistan has become like, but recently I heard a dangerous rumor. I want to speak with everyone. As we all know, the United States replaced the Afghan regime from the Taliban to the Taliban in 20 years. As we all know, ATA is relatively friendly with China, but ATA is governing the country. In terms of economic development, do you really have the ability? Chinese audiences really have no way of knowing. I don't have much interest either. After all, this is their family business. But according to publicly available information from all parties, regarding Afghanistan, there is a slightly dangerous signal for China. That is the highest leader of ATA, Ahangzada, who has not appeared for a long time. Ahangzada can be considered one of the more advanced ideologies within the Taliban. The bold anti-drug work mentioned above is led by him. Although he has never been to China, but in fact, he also nodded when the ATA delegation visited China 3 years ago. This person advocates using political and diplomatic means to change ATA's position in the hearts of people in Afghanistan and around the world. Do you still remember when ATA visited China back then? We hope that Atta can be positive and inclusive, simultaneously drawing boundaries with terrorists. At that time, the second person to visit Atta, Baradar, also responded very positively. He even stated that he would protect the rights and interests of women and children. At the same time, it also stated that no force will be allowed to use Afghan territory to do anything harmful to China. But a Hongzada hasn't shown up for a long time. Afghanistan also seems to be undergoing subtle changes. This has to be thought-provoking. Indian media has two speculations about a Hongzada. First, he died from infection with COVID-19. Secondly, he passed away in a terrorist attack. Some people speculate that even though a Hongzada has not passed away, that is also likely to be overlooked. If the person who succeeded or overshadowed a Hongzada is a moderate, that's okay, but according to multiple analyses, this person is likely Sirajuddin Haqqani. This Haqqani is a person on the US blacklist. The bounty is $10 million, but the United States and its allies pursued him for 20 years but were unable to kill him. His father is the founder of the extremist organization Haqqani Network. It's ridiculous that this organization was originally funded by the United States. Nowadays, although Haqqani is also on the blacklist in the United States, but behind the scenes, no one knows. At the recent SCO meeting, Russian Defense Minister Shoigu pointed out that international terrorism is taking advantage of Afghanistan's instability to operate within its borders. The United States is also attempting to establish a new security system in Afghanistan. This is indeed worth China's attention. China's support for the Taliban in Afghanistan is conditional. Apart from the US and India opposing foreign relations, Putin also intends to intervene. Suffering from war, Afghanistan, deeply mired in poverty. How does it affect China's strategic layout? China supports the post-war reconstruction of Afghanistan and is the first to recognize the international status of Atta, breaking the Western attempt to isolate the new regime in Afghanistan. It is reported that frequent contact between China and Atta, causing dissatisfaction and suspicion from certain countries. India believes that China aims to plunder copper mines in Afghanistan, key resources such as lithium mines, to consolidate oneself on smartphones, the dominant position in the field of electric vehicles and automotive batteries. According to American media, anti-Americanism brings China, Russia and Tehran have united. They are preparing to expel the United States from the Eurasian continent and Central Asia. For China, how to quickly restore Afghanistan's relationship with neighboring countries, enable China's influence to be quickly unleashed. It has become a top priority. Anti-China countries such as the United States and India cannot tolerate the good neighborly friendship between China and Afghanistan, because this will disrupt their deployment. To put it closer, Afghanistan will help China's growth, becoming an important link in the rise of China's new industries. To put it further, China can connect Afghanistan and Iran together through the Wayan corridor, can effectively resist American aggression. Afghanistan is a neighboring country of China anyway. China will not sit idly by, previously restricted by the Soviet Union and the United States taking turns colonizing Afghanistan. China has to tighten its borders. Nowadays, the rule of the great powers in the region has become history. China can methodically implement the Belt and Road Initiative and the Community with a Shared Future for Mankind initiative, but while China is assisting Afghanistan, a few small details need to be noted. 1. If there are variables in Atta's rule, Central Asian terrorists may infiltrate Xinjiang, China through the Wayan corridor. At that time, the pressure on China's border stability will double. 2. India, the United States continues to exert pressure on Atta, forcing Afghanistan and China to maintain a distance. 3. The international community has been holding on to the issue of human rights and has not let it go. attempting to strangle the new regime of Atta through economic sanctions. 4. Russia is unwilling for China to grow and strengthen in Central Asia. As recently, the Putin team met with a senior anti-Atta figure in the Kremlin. It can be seen from this that deepening relations between China and Atta strengthen communication. The task is heavy and the road is long, but we firmly believe one thing: anything that opponents fear, it must be something that China must accomplish. China cannot wait for Afghanistan to take the initiative to make changes. We need to find ways to give Afghanistan a helping hand in its growth. Let's have a few opinions on this. Firstly, it is necessary to put the opening of the Wayan corridor on the agenda. The Afghan side has confirmed that hardening of roads connecting the Wayan corridor, the cleaning and other work have been completed. Just wait for the Chinese side to make a decision, and the Chinese side also did not meet expectations. In addition to accepting the credentials submitted by the Atta representative in China, multiple Chinese inspection teams have begun to delve into the provinces of Nangarhar and Rahman in Afghanistan to investigate the acquisition of key minerals. Don't look at Afghanistan enduring wars all year round. The people are living in poverty, economic depression, but under the barren land of the country, but it contains tens of thousands of abundant resources. American experts have conducted investigations. Afghanistan has a copper ore reserve of up to 1 billion tons. The reserve of iron ore is as high as 2 billion tons. In addition, tantalum, niobium, chromium. The reserves of rare metals such as beryllium also rank among the top in the world. Fortunately, Afghanistan has enormous development value otherwise. China really doesn't know how to get started. This is because China can only transfer some of its backward production capacity to Vietnam. Helping Vietnam develop its basic manufacturing industry has formed a sharp contrast, relying on mountains to eat mountains. I believe Afghanistan will not miss the historical opportunity to rely on China. We need to have enough confidence in this. Secondly, Central Asia is not within the sphere of influence of the United States, Russia, and India. They all have to stand aside. In history, the exchanges between Afghanistan and China have a long and rich history. There are numerous remaining Buddhist temples and sites in Afghanistan. I never intended to enter the 20th century. UK, the Soviet Union, major powers such as the United States,